What is going on, guys? Matt O'Leary back with another video. In today's video, I want to talk about another wide receiver who hit the trade market and why the New York Jets should be all over it. All right, let's talk some Diontae Johnson trade speculation. Mark Kaboly covers the Steelers for The Athletic. And he was saying that he thinks it's more of Diontae Johnson wanting out than the team wanting to move on. But the rumors have been swirling about a potential exit for Diontae Johnson. And this is the exact kind of thing that the Jets should try to pounce on. It's abundantly clear that they need to improve at the wide receiver position. And they have to get creative to do so because a lot of these big names who were quote unquote supposed to hit the market aren't making it there. Mike Evans just re-signed. T. Higgins is a big name. He got franchise tag. Michael Pittman, I don't think is a realistic option. Calvin Ridley, you could potentially get in a bidding war over, but I think it'd be wise for the New York Jets to explore the trade market. A name that we've brought up a ton in the past is Courtland Sutton. But what about with the Pittsburgh Steelers and some of their wide receivers and Diontae Johnson in particular, who might not want to be there? And why is there a reason for this? Well, he was been pretty openly vocal in his support of Mason Rudolph. The offense looked much better after they made the transition to Mason Rudolph from Kenny Pickett. Part of it was because of the Kenny Pickett injury, but then as we know in the playoffs, Mason Rudolph started the playoff game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But Diontae's production went up and just the offense in general looked much cleaner and better with Mason Rudolph. So if you don't know, here's some info on Diontae Johnson and how he kind of profiles out as a wide receiver. He is 28 years old, 5'10", 183 pounds at his size. Some might think, well, is that a slot receiver? No, he plays 87% of the time out wide. Earlier in his career, drops were a much bigger issue. They still come up a little bit from time to time, but he's gotten significantly better in that department. His second year in the league was really bad with drops, but now, he played 5 years in the league and he just had 2 last season. So that area was significantly an upgrade. He's a really good route runner, kind of just gets separation, finds the open area, is getting better with his hands. His speed's solid. On the negative side, not the best blocker. His size would kind of indicate that. Some think that he gives up on plays sometimes. So, look, again, the perfect wide receivers or perfect players don't become available or don't become available at the cost. It would be a crazy cost for a player like that. But for a flyer on a guy who has some significant upside, I think it might be worth it. Over, last season, 13 games, he had 717 yards and 5 touchdowns. The year prior, he had 882 receiving yards. His best season was in 2021, where he had 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns. He is someone who, is going to be consistently somewhere between 750 in a healthy season to a little over 1,000 yards. I think he would complement what Garrett Wilson could do. And something else that's pretty nice is his contract situation. He has 1 more year left on his deal, which is another reason why the Steelers could potentially look to move on, especially if they're not going to sign him to any form of extension. But the Steelers would save $10 million against the cap, and his hit to the new team that would be trading for him isn't bad because the salary left is like $7 million. So it would be a relatively cost-effective move that wouldn't be, hey, I got to sign this wide receiver like a Calvin Ridley to, we'll say, an $18 million a year contract over 3-4 years. 1 more year left, and then you evaluate after that. But the cap hit, again, is going to be minuscule because the salary that's left for him and after being traded is like $7 million. Think back to some of the most productive times in semi-recent Jets history. I mean, it's a little while ago. It's almost 10 years ago and then 15 years ago now. But I'm not talking like 30 years ago. But the last times the Jets showed that they've had success, 2015, before the season, a surprise trade for Brandon Marshall where the Jets give up day 3 capital and get a stud wide receiver. I'm not saying Diontae Johnson's necessarily as good as Brandon Marshall, but the Jets make a splash for a late round draft pick at the wide receiver position. In 2009, in season, the Jets trade for Braylon Edwards, that was a great addition and helped them get to the playoffs 2 years in a row. And I skipped one in between. And the reason why is because it has a similar connection. In 2010, the Jets traded with the Pittsburgh Steelers, of all teams. Just mentioned the Pittsburgh Steelers, Diontae Johnson, Pittsburgh Steelers, and Santonio Holmes. Jets send a 5th-round pick for Santonio Holmes back in 2010, and he's a part of that team that goes to the AFC Championship game. He signs a new contract with the New York Jets, and the rest is history. But that was whether it was Mike McCagnon in 2015 or if it was Mike Tannenbaum in 2009 and 2010. He was aggressive with the veteran trades and, trading a later asset for an established player. And that's something that Joe Douglas really hasn't done yet. Granted, the Jets were in a different spot in 2009 and 2010 than they are this year or in more recent years with Joe Douglas. This year's different, though, because of the pressure that is on them to win. Now the job for the New York Jets is they have to make the playoffs and they have to win. They have a massive hole at the wide receiver spot, and this could be a way to fix it. The Jets have shown interest in Kendrick Bourne, who probably isn't going to be crazy costly. His projected contract we talked about yesterday from PFF was a $7 million AAV. So if you're saying that the Jets could have Garrett Wilson, trade a mid-round pick, 3rd, 4th round pick for Diontae Johnson, and also have Kendrick Bourne as your top 3 options, you could do a lot worse than that. You could absolutely do a lot worse than that. So I personally think this is an avenue that the Jets should really kick the tires on and actually consider doing. But I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about the idea of a Diontae Johnson trade? Would you be interested in Johnson, or would you like the Jets to go a different route? If so, let me know either way down below in the comments. Once again, I am Matt O'Leary, and I'll catch you guys next time.